Welcome to the world of werewolves. Subscribe now. The Lunar Tide Paradox. The Epic of Symbiotes. The First Blood, Tainted Tide. The Rift of the Gears. Chapter 8. The Grey-White Rebellion. The Awakening of Colors in the Smoke. The air in the London Underground tunnel was filled with the metallic smell of quantum smoke. When Kylan turned the third corner following the smell markers, a stench of rotten roses suddenly hit her nostrils. It was the warning pheromone of the Shadow Clan leader. She stopped her Wolf claws in time, and the soles of her boots scraped across the fluorescent moss on the ground. This moss, cultivated from forgotten memory fragments, glowed with a sickly lead, gray light in the gray-white vision. Symbiotes really contaminate everything. The leader hung upside down from the tunnel ceiling. His cloak opened, revealing the black rose tattoo on his throat, identical to Serena's. The quantum smoke grenade between his fingers was hissing. You think the purification smoke is a gift? It's the blade of madness we use to cut open the cocoon of memory. Kylan's gear-shaped birthmark suddenly heated up, and the pocket watch gears in her pocket buzzed. The shockwaves from the Notre Dame summit 3 days ago had not subsided yet, and the coldness of the ice sculpture projections still lingered on the skin of her knee. Now, with her back against the damp stone wall, she could smell the fear and hostility mixed on the werewolf group gradually gathering around her, and she realized that the gray-white watch of the Shadow Clan had long turned into a cage. The price of shadow, shifting is forgetting. The leader pressed the switch of the smoke grenade. Countless broken memory fragments emerged in the purple smoke, werewolf cubs dissected by the Silver Cross, the screams of vampires turning to ashes in the sunlight. Kylan instinctively materialized her mother's bonfire, only to see the scene of Serena executing Ava mixed in the flames. You've taken away our right to be numb. The quantum smoke refracted into gear-shaped light bands in Kylan's Wolf eyes. She suddenly remembered the ceremony she saw at the entrance of the Grey-White City. When new members swallowed the solution soaked with black rose petals, the memory graffiti on the walls would fade as their abilities awakened. Her Wolf claws pressed against the damp stone wall, and her fingertips touched a raised pattern. It was the outline of Ava engraved with werewolf, spirit energy, exactly the same as the mural in the basement of her old home in Iceland. What they fear is not the pain, but themselves who remember the pain. Kylan softly hummed Ava's lullaby. Memory materialization condensed into gear-shaped ripples in the sound waves. The purple smoke suddenly boiled and turned into golden powder, falling in a flutter, revealing a huge forgotten graffiti on the wall. Ava standing in front of the Arctic ice sculpture, her palm overlapping with Serena's Wolf claw, the gear-shaped birthmark and the black rose totem intertwined to form the symbiote logo. The first werewolf who regained color vision choked back a sob. He looked at his trembling palm, and the silver-blue blood vessels flowing under his skin glimmered faintly in the quantum light. It was a side effect of long-term consumption of memory fragments. When his pupils faded from lead gray to amber, the fluorescent moss on the tunnel ceiling suddenly bloomed with scarlet flowers, which were his sealed childhood memories. A ring made of dandelions by his mother. The leader's smoke grenade dropped in shock. Kylan then saw the robotic prosthesis under his cloak. The gear-shaped joints were inlaid with black rose petals, exactly the same as the patterns on the base of Serena's ice sculpture. "Serena should have killed you long ago," he roared and pounced. The moment his claws scratched Kylan's cheek, she saw the scene flashing across his retina. In 2018, Serena handing the black rose petal to the Shadow Clan leader. "She sent you to monitor the symbiotes." Kylan's Wolf claws clasped the opponent's throat, but she froze when she touched the pendant around his neck. It was a black rose specimen from Ava's grave, with Serena's blood-colored hair strands condensed on the petals. Memory materialization was triggered uncontrollably. She saw that every time the leader executed an out-of-control shadow shifter, he would place a black rose beside the corpse. The quantum smoke continued to dissipate under the resonance of the symbiote gene. The blue light seeping from the stone wall gradually condensed into Ava's holographic projection. Kylan then discovered that the walls of the entire Grey-White City tunnel were engraved with her mother's notes. Quantum smoke can store memories. The forgetting of shadow shifters is the lubricant for the gears of consciousness. Kylan's birthmark can analyze the memory spectrum. When the last wisp of smoke turned into golden powder, the moonlight leaked through the cracks in the tunnel ceiling, revealing hundreds of memory capsules hidden in the wall cavity. "They're not sacrificing memories, but hoarding them," a warning came from Leon's blood-colored chain tattoo. Kylan then noticed the serial numbers on the capsules, from AB001 to AB-999, and inside each container floated an embryo with a gear-shaped birthmark. The leader coughed up black blood, and a yellowed photo fell out from the gear gap of his robotic prosthesis. Serena and Ava smiling and making a V sign in the Cambridge laboratory with the cultivation pod numbered 0428 in the background. The Blood Moon clan needs a perfect rift. As the leader took his last breath, Kellen's Volf eyes reflected the fragments of his memory. Serena standing in front of the Arctic ice sculpture, the silver finger caught against her own heart. If the symbiotes get out of control, use these embryos to restart the plan. Suddenly, the cry of a baby came from the depths of the tunnel. Kellen broke through layers of capsules and saw a baby girl soaking in the quantum solution in the core chamber. The gear-shaped birthmark on her palm was resonating with Kellen's. The nameplate on the cultivation pod read Dawn 01, and the holographic log on the console showed that the out-of-control monsters data that the Shadow Clan sent to the Silver Cross every month were actually these unawakened symbiote embryos. They used forgetting as a cage and memories as fuel. Sarah's Leica camera suddenly vibrated in the backpack. The developed photos showed Kellen's Volf-shaped outline twined with black rose vines, and in the background, the members of the Shadow Clan were kneeling on the ground, kissing Ava's projection on the wall. As the photo developed, a gear lock pattern was automatically generated, perfectly matching the A, B, and N engraving on the inner cover of her pocket watch. At this moment, the pocket watch gears made a clear clicking sound. Kellen was surprised to find that the rusting progress bar had reversed by 3 millimeters. When the first werewolf reached out to touch Ava's projection, a faint light suddenly bloomed from the crescent-shaped scar on his palm. It was an old wound burned by the Silver Cross nanobots, but now it turned into the embryonic form of a gear-shaped birthmark. Memory is not a burden. Kellen injected the bonfire after image into the memory capsule. Countless light spots flew out from the cracks in the capsule, forming the gear structure of the London Eye in the air. The werewolves who regained color vision let out low exclamations. Some trembled as they touched the graffiti on the wall. The forgotten affections, loves, and even hatreds were flowing in the tunnel in the form of holographic images. The leader's body decomposed in the quantum light dust, revealing the black rose pendant hidden in his chest. The moment Kellen picked up the pendant, Serena's consciousness fragments stabbed into her mind like icicles. Ava's gene sample is in the Arctic, and you're the key to unlocking it. At the same time, an emergency notice popped up on the Lunar Tide network. The Silver Cross's Gene Lighthouse was aimed at the coordinates of the Gray-White City, and the nano-silver missiles were in countdown. The werewolves spontaneously formed a defense line, using their bodies to block the tunnel entrance. Kellen pressed the Thunder Core pendant against the central wall. Ava's projection suddenly opened her eyes, and her fingertips engraved a string of quantum formulas on the stone wall. When the first missile penetrated the ground, the walls of the entire Gray-White City lit up. Millions of sacrificed memories were burning, turning into a gear-shaped protective shield that lifted the entire underground world. In the roar of quantum energy, Kellen saw Ava's lips moving, saying the second half of the last words that were covered by gunshots back then. Let her learn to use pain as fuel, not as a shackle. Her Volf claws pressed against her mother's projection. The gear-shaped birthmark overlapping with Ava's after image in the ice sculpture. The pocket watch gears finally stopped the rustling sound and instead emitted a clear resonance like a spring. When Sarah's blog published The Color Revolution in the Gray-White City, the accompanying picture showed Kellen standing in the middle of the tunnel. Her Volf-shaped outline was surrounded by thousands of light butterflies. Each light butterfly carried a liberated memory. In the lower right corner of the picture, the Silver Cross's nano-silver missiles were frozen in mid-air, and reflected on their surface were the relit colors that belonged to each member of the Shadow Clan in their eyes. This episode ends, but the story continues. Subscribe now.